Let's paint a snowman to ring in the holidays. Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm joining our host, Indiana Jones, and a slew of very talented creators to share some fun with Christmaspalooza. I'm painting this cute, wee, vintage-inspired snowman. Let's get into it. I really felt the need to paint. It's been a minute. So, snowmen are a favorite. I decided to sketch this wee guy and make a small decor piece that I can tuck into a nook for a touch of Christmas fun. I traced my snowman onto some MDF and cut it out with my scroll saw. I'll paint everything below his hat with a couple of coats of CERAMCOAT white. His hat will get 2 coats of CERAMCOAT Hippo Grey, Terry's favorite color. Now that the base coat is finished, I'm going to lightly sketch in the details, his eyes and earmuffs and whatnot. I made a stencil from cardstock for his cheeks so that, that they're consistent. I'm going to lightly sketch them. This is just so I can judge where I want his eyes to go. I've also cut the shape of his eyes from cardstock, again, for consistency. I think, though, next time I'll just wing his eyes. I'm using a sponge dauber to apply CERAMCOAT watermelon to his cheeks. I'm using a liner brush and Hippo Grey to paint in his eyes. And here's where I would wing the eyes next time. I think his eyes would be cuter if they were a wee bit smaller. So that's what I'll do next time. Okay, he gets la lashes and brows. To dot on his nose, I use the back of a brush handle and Hippo Grey. I'm using a small flat brush to give him a quick watermelon smile. And his earmuffs and mittens will also get 2 coats of watermelon. All the paint that I used in today's video are CERAMCOAT brand. CERAMCOAT, it's my favorite brand. It's a plaid product, and that's predominantly what I use. Not that there aren't other paints that are good, but that's just my preference. And let's stripe his scarf too. Today I'm really only working with 4 colors, and that includes my shading and highlighting. I find that most mid-century retro vintage pieces really only use a couple of colors. They don't really get into, a vast array, but you do you. However you like your snowman, that's how you do it. And you know what? I'm going to give him a hat band with watermelon as well. Let's get to the fun stuff. Details. So I'm using my folk art floating medium to shade. This is a clear gel that assists in the shading process. I prep my brush with the medium, then I'm going to side load with CERAMCOAT Tropic Bay Blue by scooping up the paint onto the corner of my brush. I stroke my brush onto my plate to load the bristles. This gives the paint a fade in color, darkest or heaviest at the corner, and lightest as it moves toward the middle of the brush. And it gives us a gradient to that color. So with the pink corner of my brush, where I want the darkest color, right at the bottom of the brim, I'm going to float right along that brim. I reload my brush with both a wee touch of medium and paint whenever I need it. And you can tell because your paint brush will get skippy, and that's when you reload. It should be nice and fluid. So I'm going to float around his face, and really anywhere where there's white, I am going to float that with Tropic Bay Blue. Right here, I'm both reinforcing the shade under his chin and the top of the scarf, adding the details to distinguish the sections of the scarf. So usually when I'm shading, I'll lay down my first layer of shading like I am here at the bottom of the scarf. Then I'll turn my brush over and go from the opposite end. Like you can see I'm going under his scarf now. And that reinforces that shaded line. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to add details to his body, just floating in his arms and the shape of his body. All the little wee white stripes will also get a little bit of that Tropic Bay Blue. And I'll shade around his features too. I'll use CERAMCOAT charcoal to shade his hat, loading my brush in the same way as before. Little on the side there, corner, stroke it, and then we go at it. I'll shade down the side of his hat and along the brim. Anywhere where I think there would be a natural shadow, that's where I'm going to shade. I feel like it gives it a more rounded effect. And I'm just going to run some along this top of his hat band here. And a wee touch right at the top. Ever so lightly along the brim. You know that I like to add a couple of colors to my shading, so I'm going to grab some Hippo Grey and shade right along the Tropic Bay shading. Now I'm not covering the Tropic Bay, it's more enhancing it. This layer of Hippo Grey will serve more as an outline, really. I keep it soft, light, and feathery. This is like one of my favorite parts of painting, all the details, especially the shading. It gives the color a nice diffused look, very feathery and light. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's been a minute since I painted, so I really miss it when I'm not painting. So I just figured this would be perfect. Perfect project for Christmaspalooza. Okay, we'll float along his body and his mittens. One of the things that I really love about the floating medium is that if I feel like a line is too heavy, I can just pick up more medium, go over that area, and it'll remove the paint, make it more feathery and lighter. So don't be afraid or think you messed up. If you feel like your paint is too heavier, you can almost always correct it. Just a wee touch of shading under his scarf. Tropic Bay stripes for his headband and his mitten band. I dot white highlights in his eyes with a skewer. And a few dots to highlight his nose. I added some to his cheeks too. So I've loaded my brush with floating medium and white to add a quick highlight to his hat, earmuffs, and mittens. I think highlighting really can make all the difference. It adds a little lift and makes it a little brighter and cheerier. Know what I'm saying? Even though I'm keeping him simple, I do want to add some SnowTex to the top of his hat, just for a wee bit of texture. I'm using a scruffy old brush to apply it, and I'm just dabbing it on. If you don't have SnowTex, caulk or spackle will work too. I'll shake on some chunky white iridescent glitter for a little sparkle. I added some turquoise glitter to this Dollar Tree snowflake, which I'm going to glue to his belly. I just used Mod Podge, pounced over top of it and sprinkled it with the glitter. And here I'm just using hot glue. I grabbed a piece of scrap wood as a stand for him. It's a bit ragged, but this is for me and it won't be visible, so I'm not worrying about it. And I'll attach it with wood glue and a wee bit of hot glue for that quick grab. And this frosty fella is done. He'll fit right in with all my other snowmen. Here's the final look. I want to thank Annie for bringing us all together for this fabulous Christmaspalooza collaboration. You'll find a link to Annie's channel, along with the creators playlist, in the description box. You'll find a list of my supplies there too. There is a plethora of inspiration in this collab, so treat yourself to all of the videos and show some love. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'll have plenty more Christmas projects in the coming weeks, including some clay figures. Stay tuned. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.